Hello and welcome back to another Shadowverse video. They just announced a massive balance patch. Let's talk about it, all right? And they're announcing this balance patch ahead of the new mini expansion coming out, which is interesting because sometimes they put off doing a balance patch because we don't know how the mini is going to affect things, but they're actually pushing this patch ahead of the mini release, which is pretty interesting. So, and by ahead, I mean it's going to release alongside the mini, but they're announcing it before the mini comes out, which is pretty interesting stuff. Not necessarily typical for what they do. So, first of all, Uriel, okay? Uriel now only subtracts 2 from neutrals that cost at least 5. This is obviously a big patch that directly hits Hozumi in both rotation and unlimited. I think the reason why they don't hit Hozumi directly, and some people have been expressing this, why not just hit the big win con, is that they don't want Hozumi to be unplayable in rotation, especially since it's a new card. That's my speculation anyway. I don't know for sure, obviously, but that's my speculation. But they're hitting one of the most powerful pieces of the combo. And by hitting Uriel, they also directly nerf Atomy in Unlimited as well. So I think this nerf is probably the correct call. But whether or not it makes Unlimited a better format, yet to be seen. I personally don't play that much Unlimited, at least currently. I used to play quite a bit of Unlimited, let's be honest, a year ago. It's been a while. But I've been talking to people who do play Unlimited, and they said that this patch might actually make the meta less diverse. We'll get into that in a bit as we move on to the other cards. But for this specifically, I think this was the right call. Making Hozumi not go off on turn 4, delaying it to at least turn 5, turn 6, if you low roll, that makes it way less oppressive and less consistent, which is also a big deal, right? So I'm quite happy about this Uriel nerf. Let me know in the chat what you think, by the way. We're recording this live on the YouTube channel as well. So if you're in the chat, let me know what you think, and maybe I'll read some of your opinions at the end. Next up, we got a few buffs coming our way as well. So Shining Valkyrie is now a 4 play point card with 3 defense instead of a 5/2/5. That's actually a huge change. That means now going second, you have an aggressive Evo if you can seize the tempo early. Just in general, you can play it on curve way earlier now. That's actually so big, especially since 5 is such a clunky number too. You know what I mean? If you're on the play and you evolve this turn 5, you now have the extra play point to play the buffed fairy that comes from the Shining Valkyrie to potentially clear a ward so the Shining Valkyrie can go face. So it's literally just better in every way, despite the defense decrease. So the Shining Valkyrie buff is extremely strong, I think. Will it make Fairy Forest good? I don't know. We'll have to find out. I think if I read the translations correctly, we are getting a few fairy cards in the mini expansion. Whether or not they're good enough to actually see play, we'll have to find out once the official translations come out. But I think this buff is probably to get ahead of that and to support that archetype more. So it's not just Hozumi that's viable in the format. Next, we see a Departed Soul Taker buff from 9 play points to 8. So it's a little complicated, right, to evaluate this because the new card revealed in the mini expansion, which is Caridwen, reanimates 10. And in a Soul Taker deck, you want to reanimate the Soul Taker and proc its fanfare, which is what Caridwen does, but you also want to run Mordecai and Abyssal Colonel, so there's a bit of anti-synergy there. I wonder how the deck builders are going to be able to sort of balance that and thread that fine line, right? Thread that fine line in order to make the Departed Soul Taker deck work. I highly doubt that this buff for Soul Taker will actually make it meta, especially in comparison to Last Words currently. But I think it helps. At the very least, you can reanimate Lakandula with this early turn 7, which is fine. I still think it's really heavy and a very long con win condition where last words can kind of kill you much faster. So I don't think it's going to be necessarily good. Maybe it'll become at least slightly more playable. But between the fact that it still costs 8 and the anti-synergy with the new Caridwen card and you wanting to run Mordecai and Colonel, it makes it a little bit difficult for me to see in what world Soul Taker deck would become meta. Suyu in chat says, "I'll make it work." Okay, I'll leave it to you, man. You're the sauce master over here. You can cook. I'll make sure to cover it if it ends up being something cool. Valneric, Lustful Desire, got buffed from 3/1/3 to 2/1/2, which is actually an insane buff. Can we just say, like, the delta from 3 cost to 2 cost is like one of the biggest deltas in the game. Yeah, having Valneric be a 1/2 for 2, and this I assume also buffs the tokens that come out of it, right? It must, right? So the Storm becomes even better. Yeah, and it makes Gyrodeth easier to proc too. I think the Valneric buff is actually very, very scary. We'll have to see what other cards are released for the mini expansion. By the way, just a quick reminder, I am revealing a new card tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, this Valneric buff is pretty scary stuff. I think it's very powerful. So I think in terms of impact, I would say Valneric buff number 1, Valkyrie number 2, Soul Taker number 3. All right. Next, Executor of the Oath now restores 2 defense to your leader. I guess this makes it now playable in Control Unariel OTK. It also... No, that's it, right? It's still not great, but it might buff Unariel OTK, which is cool. Long term, I don't think this is going to really matter that much since Bellerophon is rotating soon, right? But yeah, this is fine. I mean, Unariel sucks, so it getting buffed is okay by me. I mean, if we take a look at the last SVO results, right? We got 0 Havens, 0 Bloods, 0 Forests in the top 8. Haven, Blood, Forest, 0 representation in the top 8. So any buff to Haven, I guess I'm okay with, just to make the metagame a little more diverse. Iralde is still not a good card, that's true. I think this is probably going to be taken advantage of by Unariel OTK rather than Iralde. I think Iralde just kind of sucks, I'll be honest with you. But who knows? Maybe Iralde will be good? Question mark. Probably not. Okay. And here is the big one, all right? So in Unlimited, Starseer's Telescope and Restless Parish are getting outright banned. Not even restricted to 1. Not even restricted to 1. Outright banned, which is insane. Wrath and Handless, destroyed. Destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. Dirt Rune that bounces Contractor with Kaleidoscopic Glow, destroyed. Okay, so yeah, those decks are actually dead, I think. So here's the problem, and this is what I was sort of lampshading earlier in this video when I was talking to my Unlimited friends about how this patch might actually make Unlimited less diverse. With the nerf to Geruel, yes, it does hit Atomy, and yes, it does hit Hozumi, but getting rid of almost entirely Wrath and Handless and Dirt means that there's only maybe 3 viable decks in Unlimited now, total. Now, I was expressing the opinion. I was being optimistic. I was like, hey, is there a chance that the nerfs to these super powerful decks creates a vacuum in the metagame that allows tier 2 decks to rise up and at least become playable. And they were telling me that D-Shift, Hozumi, and Heal still gatekeep way too hard. So I'm a little concerned. We'll have to see how it shakes out. I'm still a little bit optimistic, but at the same time, I don't play Unlimited as much as those guys, so I'm going to have to take their word for it for now. And I have to share my concern that this might actually make the format worse by making it less diverse. But we'll have to find out when the patch actually lands. I am hoping it lets tier 2 decks flourish some more. Perhaps Discard Dragon comes back, etc. Sword is DOA as usual, so who cares? But at least maybe we get Discard Dragon or some other stuff coming up through the ranks. But that might not happen. We'll just have to find out. But you know what? I will say it is at least a little encouraging that they are seeming to put out more unlimited balance patches as of late. Like we had that one just a week or two ago, remember, where they nerfed Atomy, even though it was barely a nerf, but at least they did something. And now we have this. Perhaps this is a portent of a good pattern to come. We'll just have to hope for that, I guess. And we'll have to see whether this actually improves the unlimited format, because by golly, it is a hellhole. I just have to say. Okay, so that is the balance patch. Let me know what you think. It's coming out ahead of the mini expansion here. It's landing right alongside the mini expansion, it seems like, on February 19th to 20. So I think this is exciting, the Valnoric specifically, and I quite like the Shining Valkyrie buff as well. That's what I'm looking forward to the most. Let me know in the comments, what you think. I'd love to hear from you. Like the video if you did. Don't if you didn't. Subscribe for more Shadowverse content in the very near future. I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.